And it's away quickly to Pádraig O'Reilly from the free kick. Inside once more to Martin Riley. Fed back here towards Johnston. Onto the left, this should be the opening score, and it is. The man you look to, time and again, Shawnee Johnston. First of the day comes in the 5th minute. Meanwhile, at the other end, Michael McCann here has support there with Sean Burke. This is Burke, number 14. Oh, this is a good move. Chance to fist it over the bar. He's done exactly what he should do. Wise course of action. Scored in valuable phase. Got another one here, and it's a point apiece. Antrim's first attack, and they managed to cut swathes through the Cavan defence here before the challenge could come in on Sean Burke. Antrim now realise how obvious the game plan's going to be as McKeever takes another one brilliantly from the skies. That's brilliant fielding. That's not the best of passes across here, but it's kept in there by Kevin Brady's excellent move. Did well. Looking for Lockery down along the line here, trying to reach him. James Lockery once again. Back into Michael McCann. Terry O'Neill now fancying his chances, and why not? Putting it over the bar. The man who's been playing and played in that sweeper role around the half-back line gets forward for once and thumps it over the bar and restores Antrim's advantage. They lead again by 3 points to 2. This was a really good score by Terry O'Neill. Again, the Cavan defence slow to react. Cunningham trying to get it on the left, and they forced him on the right, and he has a go, and it works out. First point of the match for the player from Loviarog. 7-3. Antrim, who last reached an Ulster final in 1970, the last time they played here in St Tiernach's Park. What about this for good footwork? Well, if Antrim begin to fall asleep, Cavan will take over, and they have the players to get the scores, and Cian Mackey is one of them. Looking to recycle this one, held on to well. That's Ray Cullivan, and he kicks it over the bar. Let's have a look at it again. It's a goal for Cavan, and there are 3 between them. David Gibney in at the end of this. Now, did he get the final touch? It was fed in by Martin Riley from the 45. Fumbled inside, and Gibney managed to get it over the line. Can Michael Brides make a difference? Can David Gibney get another one? That time running out of options, and it's almost in the forwards that Cavan are trying to do it as individual players, whereas they're up against the combination of Antrim at the back. But that is breached, and breached brilliantly by Larry Riley. A goal on the point now for Cavan in the last few attacks. We're coming up to 60 minutes of football gone. Nicely in here, and Jason O'Reilly fouled 20 metres out. Free kick to Cavan. They got to go and get a goal somehow, somewhere. They went for it. Breaks again to Michael Brides. Back once again to Jason O'Reilly. Letting fly. Stopped by Edron Gallagher this time. Referee looks at his watch. Still a few seconds left. Comes out to Michael McCann. He's fouled there by Martin Riley. And it's all over. Antrim beat Cavan and reach the 2009 Ulster football final. Well done to Liam Bradley. It's Antrim 13 points, Cavan 1 goal and 7. Antrim are the victors.
Point in the second half from play is just never going to be good enough at this level. Our tackles didn't go in. I suppose it's fair to say that, you know, what we built our game on, we didn't get it out on the pitch there this evening, and when you don't do that, when you don't get the basics of the game right and the good tackling and the passing, composure tends to go, and that's certainly what happened with us.
I think even the Cavan people would admit there this evening that they were lucky to get away with a 3-point defeat. I think the final score should have been something with Antrim won over a dozen or points or so. Such was our domination of that match from the first whistle to the last.
Well done, Antrim. That's their first Ulster final since 1970, 39 years ago. I don't know if Dara Canada was even born then, but the celebrations afterwards and the scene, you could see what it meant to all of the fans and the players indeed, and look at the joy there for them. Kevin, you were at the match, obviously.
Yeah, it's
Great
terrific.
scenes at the end there, isn't it?
I stayed around for maybe half an hour afterwards, and there was joyous scenes.
Yeah.
You know, like a breakthrough almost, even though they're only into a final. And it'll be difficult for them to control the hype, I'd say, you know, in the county over the next few weeks. But richly deserved victory for them. And the Baker Bradley was absolutely correct there. You know, they won by 3, that a dozen wides, some, you know, very easily scoreable wides, and they absolutely were on top. You know, they let Cavan back into it once or twice, but they were the better team by a considerable distance.
Dara, you mentioned in relation to Kildare, they've got pacey players, they've got some big, strong players, and it'll be completely written off. Do you give them a chance?
I suppose it'd
No.
be churlish. No. It would, you know, it'd be churlish to do any kind of killjoy act now.
Yeah.
It's their day, let them enjoy it, and without being too patronising about it. I don't see them beating Tyrone. I don't think they have any chance of beating Tyrone, but I think the Ulster Championship needed it. I think the Championship in general needs teams like Antrim coming through, and I know there's huge work being done on the ground. And I'd say, if you ask me the same question in 5 years' time, maybe they would come up to the levels of the Tyrone.
Their aim, though, was to be in the last 12. I did hear the manager say that last week, and they're now there. So that's, you know, a good place to be.
A team can gain momentum, albeit from Division 4.
Absolutely, Des. And you know, while Tyrone will be going in as overwhelming favourites and Antrim will have no chance in the world by 98% of the people, in the end of the day, Tyrone sides are trying to win in All-Ireland. Antrim sides will be trying to win an Ulster title. Maybe Mickey Hart might have to take the foot off the gas now that he sees it's Antrim to try and make sure he's his team fresh for the bank holiday weekend.
I'm just saying, I'd love to be in Mickey Hart's sitting room now.
But I know that. But you know, I'm not saying he'll do it on purpose. But you know, like they know they're there in the bank holiday weekend in Croke Park at this stage in all their heads. And like Tyrone have been the most impressive team this year because they had a focus to win Sam back to back. Now, you know, I wouldn't be as dismissive to Antrim because Ulster
You're a
football.
romantic, Tommy.
I am absolutely, but I think Ulster football is always these type of games. Could this go to the wire? Fermanagh last year could have won it and didn't in the end.
Yeah, but you see, when Armagh came out last year and they didn't exactly set the world on fire. That was at a particular level. You're talking about Tyrone here, and you know it's in their interest to come through the front door, if you like. So I think, you know, I don't
Just the alternative view, Darren.
a bit of realism in Ulster.
But what
Ulster
about
football is all
the
about
notion that?
realism.
What about the notion that Mickey Hart, if he'd made 15 changes, you'd have 15 good lads bursting to win an Ulster
But there's a lot of
title?
Siggers and Cup medals in this Antrim team. So, like, you know, they are overwhelmingly underdogs, and I think the bookies will probably be 1 to 12 on or some bloody thing. You know, they'll be ridiculous odds. So, yeah, the bookies are never poor. So.
No, and there's nothing wrong with a bit of romance either, Tommy. Don't mind that Kelly man beside you.
Tell my wife that, yeah.
Kevin, you're impressed with Antrim's build-up.
I was. It's a very simple game plan they have, and it's based a lot on patience. Where they handle the ball well. They've quite a few players that handle the ball very comfortably, throw it around. We zoned in on Terry O'Neill there, but in particular the way Lockery and Brady and these guys, and we've circled Terry O'Neill running into this space. It's just runners from deep deads are awful hard to mark in any sport, soccer, rugby, and indeed Gaelic. And look how patient they are, throwing it around until they get that gap. And here it's going to be executed now nicely. That's O'Neill who's made that run, and he's the guy that's playing auxiliary number 6 now. So he's made some distance and a lovely, tidy, clean finish. But that patience was exhibited all over the field and throughout the 70+ minutes. Very easy on the ball, weren't throwing it away, and they were doing it at their own time when they had the opportunities.
The role of Terry O'Neill.
Yeah, and against Donegal, he played as the extra man back, filling the hole, and he did the very same job here today. So, you know, and every time he got the ball, he did the simple thing with it. He gave it to the man who was out in space. So it couldn't have been a surprise to Cavan that they were going to play this tactic. And you know, whether it was a hand pass or a foot pass, it was always out to space, out to the wing. Look at the perfect ball, and Antrim were on the momentum again. And the dying minutes when Antrim were probably, you know, thought that they were going to win this and were really panicking a bit, there he was back in the middle of the goal, you know, defending in block. I mean, Antrim had 8 or 9 men back. You wouldn't have got the ball in there with a rifle, you know, at the very end, because Antrim had all gone back to try and just defend the 3-point lead that they had. But you know, I just think it's disappointing for Cavan, this whole performance, because they had a great win against Fermanagh. Fermanagh, Donegal down, all felt they had a great chance to get to an Ulster final. Cavan bet Fermanagh, and they didn't come out and play it on. To Tommy Carr sitting down tonight, that's what really will disappoint him, because Cavan were better than that, albeit Shawnee Johnson had been the one-hit wonder all year for them, even in the league, getting all the scores. They'd be very disappointed they didn't play better than they did.
All right, Kevin, you might take us through how the two attacks contrast it.
Well, we're going. This piece is going to show it perfectly. You know, there's a poor enough pass from Nicholas Walsh, overhit, and Paul Brady gets it. But they're going around in circles. Here's Rory Dunn, bad touch, drops it, flicks it back. Now there's a blanket defence facing Paul Brady, and yet he's kicking it straight across where there's loads of Antrim bodies. And look at the quick outlet pass here. Nice foot pass. Can't defend a good foot passer no matter what you coach into your team. They're the best type of passes. Very direct. One at the top of its flight path and a free generated for the foul on Michael McCann. One end of the field, dithering, a little bit aimless, going around in circles. And that was at a time now when they needed penetration and they needed scores. Coughed it up very cheap. Down at the other end, Paddy Cunningham actually tailed off that foul with a free, and that was really putting them outside.
All right. Will they be able to cope, or what will they do? Will they have to change tactics to cope with the Tyrone blanket defence?
They won't change tactics. Terry O'Neill will play that role again, I've no doubt. And I hear loud and clear what Dara is saying, and indeed what Tommy is saying. But, you know, remember, Clare won a Munster in our lifetime. Wimbledon won an FA Cup. Westmeath won a Leinster. Things happen. It's highly unlikely.
More romance.
The male blood in us.
Antrim's work rate, Des, was the best I've seen over two games from most teams. Their work rate was phenomenal against Donegal. People kept talking about Donegal's 80
and they come in perfectly, Des.
These guys are no fools, I'm telling you.
Dara, you've lost all your romance since you got married.
It's been beaten out of me.
All right,
She had to retire after they got married, did it?
Well, I want to move away from specific games to a more general reflection now on the quality of football so far this summer, because, Kevin, a good few supporters have been texting me on the radio disappointed with the quality of football. What would you say to them?
I think, you know, I'd love to know the age group of the guys that are texting you. They're probably youngish if they can text you, I suppose. But there's a huge part of us that look back on the good old days, and the good old days were always better than the present days. A lot of that is poor memory.
Clare won the football.
Yeah, well, you know, it's poor memory to a large degree and lack of cameras to pick up on some of the horrible matches that I, you know, diligently contributed to myself in my own time. But the standard, I'd say, is no better or no worse. Since the qualifiers came in, we accept 100% the championship really begins on the August bank holiday weekend, and we've been making reference to that tonight. I am absolutely sure of that. That's because there's no safety net after that.
Has the game become more defensive, Dara?
Without a shadow of a doubt, we see Terry O'Neill there even, you know, and for the likes of Terry O'Neill, who's a good footballer, he's going to do the right thing with the ball. But we see so many other players that are dropping back and doing the wrong thing with the ball, giving a hand pass to somebody about 5 yards away. I suppose the beauty of playing sweepers and playing lads back forwards that should be kicking points, particularly half forwards back there, is that they know exactly what they have to do. You're telling them, you know, play the sweeper role, they have a free hand to do what they want to do. We would like to see half-forward line scoring a bit more. How many half-forwards score from play these days? It's all defensive. And, you know, the good teams have pioneered it. You had Brian Doher, who can score as well now, in fairness to him. You had Paul Galvin from the Kerry side doing it. I suppose the Tyrones and the Corks and the Kerrys are able to perfect it because they're able to get track back and return back up the field again. But for a lot of the lesser teams, they don't have people of the quality of, let's say, like Terry, who played last night and kicked the ball out intelligently. It's just a mess, and it's just a mass of testosterone around the middle.
But does that turn some people off there? Do you know people who are turned off a bit by football as it is now?
There's a lot of people lamenting the absence of kicking and everything, but if you're a player out the field with the ball, you don't want to be the guy the following Tuesday and the DVD analysis being told you give the ball away 6 or 7 times. And it's almost like they're afraid to make a mistake. A lot of players, you see it in many of the games today, even players looking up, and the lads are moving, but it's a percentage ball, so they won't play the risk. They'll give the sure thing all the time.
Is the joy gone out of football then? Are players, is it a fair thing now, Tommy?
I don't think the joy isn't gone out for the particular players out on the pitch, Des. I think, and the joy isn't gone from the supporters of Sligo and Galway today, because there was a close game, went to the wire, Galway snuck it at the end. You know, that emotion that you'll have as a supporter on that given day. Now, they'll go home that night, and then tomorrow and the next day they'll be talking about, oh, geez, your man was terrible, your man was good. And all that will go on. But I think, Des, the game of Gaelic football, I don't believe, is any better or worse than it was 40 years ago. And if you take how many teams have won the All-Ireland in the last 40 years, it's only 11. There's only 3 teams have played in All-Ireland finals who never won them in the last 40 years, Roscommon, Mayo and Kildare. So you don't have, while we have 32 or 34 competing, in reality we only have 8 teams that have any chance.
Less than that even.
Yeah. Are we getting athletes on county teams now rather than skillful players?
Well, you see, this is the debate we were just arguing it during the commercial break. Do you go to 13-a-side? You know, there will be a school of thought that loosens up the tackling and it puts a higher premium on good
More
foot passing.
space and, yeah.
But I would counter-argue and say you will have roadrunners, on every team that will just plough up yards and run, and it'll put a premium on athleticism rather than skill. The skill level should be the key level in my estimation for the sport.
Let's say long range point kicking is a skill. I mean, that should be rewarded. Reward maybe outside, like we have the 3-pointers in basketball. There should be some kind of an exclusion zone, so that you're not inviting this blank defence, that you're inviting these long range kicks. 13-man game certainly works very well in the North American board in Boston.
Tommy, can I ask you, sorry, what about giving 2 points for a free? In other words, make defenders afraid to foul.
I think that there's a lot of validity in a lot of those arguments. 2 points for a free, Dara saying maybe 2 points for if you kick a point from outside the 40 yards line and out of your hands. And these are great ideas. And one of the big issues I have when we're coming up with all these ideas is that it's very hard to implement a top to bottom rule policy in the GAA, because you have an inter-county game which is a separate game in a lot of ways to the club game and standard wise. And if you take inter-county managers at the moment, a lot of them are getting blamed for lack of kicking skills. In my experience, Des, no matter how much ball work I did with a fella, if I got him at 18 or 19 years of age and he couldn't kick the ball with his left foot, no matter how many times I got him to try and kick the ball with his left foot, he wasn't going to get money marginally better. That has to happen at 10 or 11. And I think the skill factor, is at that level is where we might be not coaching enough of skill.
I don't agree, Tommy, just with the idea that, or was it you, Dar, that said that the 2 points for a free, for this reason. In the trial rules we had in the league, we brought in the yellow card and you're off, and we recategorised certain fouls. Yeah. Tackling became a huge part because the guys going off every few minutes. If we put in 2 points for the tackle would be gone out of the game. I'm sure of that, because talk about DVDing on Wednesday, you'd be strung out for fouling on the Sunday. But the standard, as I see it, that's particularly poor is in club football, not particularly in the county game.
But there's no real appetite for change either. I remember playing a National League campaign, I think it was 94, where they brought in what I thought would be a fantastic rule, where you received the ball from a hand pass, you had to give it off by kicking. That would get rid of an awful lot of this short passing. But it was voted out the following year.
And there's the other very important thing is Ulster has got blamed for a lot of this hand passing game. But like in the end of the day, they have awful good footballers. Like Brian Dewar, right? Is the Pat Spillane of the modern era. Pat Spillane used to end up on his 14-yard line and end up the other end taking the ball again and kicking it over the bar. Brian Dewar has done the very same thing. They do it in a different way. But one thing for certain, the best players generally are on the best team and generally win the All-Ireland.
When we hear some managers saying we're not here to entertain, when there's been criticism matches, what do you make of that then?
That's kind of shocking stuff. I know Damien Cassidy said it recently, and it's a kind of a
can you understand where he's coming from?
No. There has to be some form of entertainment in it. To be honest, I mean, we all live in the real world.
But he's getting slack from
you're living in a romantic era there. You know what I mean? For God's sake,
It's not even a question of entertainment. There has to be some level of entertainment. I actually take issue with that attitude from lots of managers, not just Damien now. In all fairness, is they're doing a disservice to the game. Like, the game has to be handed on to the next generation and the next generation after that. And if we have managers encouraging a ruthlessness and a cynicism, and we've seen plenty of that now this championship, that might be a topic for another night.
But hang on, you just said other teams Dublin have to be more ruthless and...
No, not more ruthless. Ruthless, I would define ruthless. Not cynical or not... Ruthless is good, but cynicism is not good. And we've had an awful lot of that. And that is a product of managers, saying, I don't care what happens, we must win.
Isn't that what he has to do to beat
within
Tyrone?
the structures that are there, they're playing
within
the system.
But just be careful there on that, lads, right? What we had was, last year, we all felt too many players were lying on the ground. We talked about player integrity on the pitch, right? There's been a massive change in player integrity this year, and players have to be complimented for that. But equally, there's been a massive change in the implementation of the rules by the referees. When they lost the vote in Congress by 3 votes, really and truly, the GA took that as saying, well, this is actually what the people want. And now, OK, with the unfortunate incident there recently where the referee let the game go on and the player was seriously hurt, but no longer are you seeing a team get 2 points in the burst and all of a sudden a fella goes down injured and the game stops. All that cynicism has been taken out of the game this year, and I think a lot of the games we've had this year, OK, you've had your bad games because you have a lot of bad teams in the championship, but we've had a lot of very good games where the ball was moved at pace and the game wasn't interrupted by all these stupid break-up to play.
All right, why have we so many bad teams? I mean, they're training for the same amount of time.
We've always had them.
The quality just isn't there. The pool of players isn't there. There's so many players now opting to play different sports. There's almost a societal issue there. Tommy was mentioning players not kicking the ball. Some players don't, under 12, under 14, don't kick a ball until they're inside on a Saturday morning. There's not enough maybe players from a rural background.
Dublin developed go games where it's actually 4 aside now at under 8 and 9 rather than this 11 or 12 aside where 3 players in each team went up and down the pitch and control the game. That takes 10 or 12 years to come through.
Look at the games now that we're now looking. Sorry, Des, just to finish maybe perhaps on this. The games we're looking forward to now: the Leinster final, the Munster final, the Connacht final. They're going to be smashing games, well contested by well coached and well organised teams. I've no doubt about that. And we'll get some good qualifiers. And from August onwards, we'll have great football. I've no doubt.
Starts.
So cheer up, says everybody.
Just
the championship starts now.
Knock off your text.
All right,
does.
All right then. Well, coming up after the break, one of the stars of Galway's 3 in a row in the 1960s tells us of his favourite GA day, and we see how the current Galway footballers fared against Sligo. Of the GA's 125th anniversary by inviting special guests to recall their favourite day. Now tonight I'm delighted to welcome a man who is on the